The ACU football team loses the dogfight in California. I'm Shera Niemirowski.
And I'm Grant Boone. We'll recap the ACU Fresno State game and look ahead to the Southland Conference season today on the Ken Collums Show. Welcome to week 2 of the Ken Collums Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. I'm Grant Boone, joined by ACU senior journalism major Shera Niemirowski and the head football coach at ACU, Ken Collums. The season opened last week with ACU falling at Fresno State of the Football Bowl subdivision. Final score 34-13. Coach, we'll talk about that game in our next segment. But how about just the whole experience? A plane full of not just your team, but an awful lot of important people to ACU.
That's right. And anytime you get on a plane and go somewhere new, it's exciting for everybody. We had guys that have never been on a plane before, and that's always, You're sitting in the front, you kind of peek back, and you're going, man, somebody make sure those guys are okay. So they're sweating bullets. But we had a great time. It was a good trip. Played a pretty good game at times. We just didn't play consistent enough.
Yeah.
Coach, now that you're back from Fresno, you have such an early bye week this season. You have 16 straight days. How do you and your coaching staff plan to use all those days off?
Well, we started out by resting. We gave them off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I told everybody, I don't want to see anybody. We'd been together for a long time for fall camp, and it is a grind. You see each other all day, every day. Now they start classes, so we needed some rest and needed to heal up a little bit. So now what we're doing in this week, we're just, we were exposed a little bit. Anytime you lose a game, really to anybody, you're exposed for some of the deficiencies that you have, and it's our job as coaches to, hey, all right, this week we can fix this. Some things are maybe not fixable, so maybe personnel type changes, but you practice and you grind and you get better. This is a great week for us to get better, and a great opportunity both to rest up, because we've got 9 straight conference games, and when Houston Baptist comes in town, we'll be ready to go.
Houston Baptist takes on ACU September 19th. Bye week this week. We'll look back at the Fresno State game when we come back on the Ken Collums Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show, presented by Lawrence Hall. The 2015 ACU football season opened last Thursday night at the home of a perennial college football bowl team. With a look back at ACU and Fresno State, here's Daniel Zepeda.
In the first quarter, sophomore quarterback Zach Greenlee is forced to scramble, but connects with freshman Jordan Jameer on a 25-yard strike for the Bulldogs' first score of the season, putting them up early, 7-0. The Wildcats would respond by driving 78 yards as returning junior quarterback Parker McKenzie finds freshman tight end Liam Flowers on what seemed to be a score, but would be ruled down at the 1-yard line. Senior running back Herschel Sims would take it from there to tie things up in Fresno at 7 apiece. The Wildcat defense was tested early and often as Greenlee finds junior receiver Josiah Blandon on a 32-yard pass to go ahead 14-7 at the end of one. Key plays from the defense, however, picked up the team and kept things in reach for ACU as the first half ended. An interception from freshman safety Junior Henderson stopped the Bulldogs at midfield, and then another pick from junior defensive back DJ Arnold stopped Greenlee and the Bulldogs from breaking things open, making it 21-7 Fresno State at halftime. The Wildcat offense got back to work in the second half. On the team's second possession of the half, McKenzie was picked off on a questionable pass, giving the ball back to Fresno State with 8:45 left in the third. The interception would lead to a touchdown for the Bulldogs. Greenlee would find sophomore tight end Chad Olson. After breaking by the defender, Olson would score on the 31-yard pass. The Wildcats would head into the fourth quarter, trailing 31-7. Freshman backup quarterback Dallas Seeley saw action against Fresno State, going 12 of 16 for 45 yards and a touchdown. The Wildcats found the end zone on the final play from Bulldog Stadium, with Seeley finding freshman Byron Proctor on the 6-yard pass.
Okay, Daniel, thanks. 34-13, Coach, the final. The game started with your team on offense. I thought it was interesting. You told me before the game in the pregame show that you wouldn't be surprised, given it's the first game, given the big crowd, 50,000 folks there. You said, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a false start. Well, sure enough, 3rd and inches on the very first drive of the game, you get a false start. It's hard to, it seems like more than 5 yards in a way. It just seems to change the whole feel of the play, doesn't it?
Sure, and remind me next time not to tell you that.
Or
So
even
we won't
talk
do
to me in
that.
the
That's
pregame,
exactly
yeah.
right. I would rather not do that. But, you know, 3rd and 1, things are loud. Things need to go right on 3rd down early in a game like that. And, you know, it was 3rd and 1, then it was 3rd and 6. And we don't get it, we have to punt. But so goes football, and that was kind of a snapshot of our entire game.
Yeah.
We would gain yards, and we wouldn't be able to complete drives.
They go down and score at 7-0. But, Coach, I thought the way that your team came back, you answer that. You get a big play on 3rd down to Liam Flowers, playing in his first ACU game, his first big play. H-back, fullback. He takes it down to the goal line. They ruled it a touchdown initially, then they called it back, but then Herschel Sims plunges in. Just the ability to answer. Your team has done that, it seems like, every year. I thought that was a big moment, though. Big crowd, they're smelling blood, and you come right back down and score.
Sure. The bottom line is, in the game of football, people are going to score. I mean, other offenses are going to put your defense in a bind, and they're going to score. So it is with our offense. And when you execute properly, when you do the right thing, when you're disciplined in your alignment and your steps and just the details, it'll give you a chance. It'll literally give you a chance to move the ball and score. And we were able to do that. So after they scored, it was like, you know what? It's going to take more than 7 points to beat us anyway. So let's get it going.
They go down and score twice. It's 21-7. They get the ball back, and they're moving near midfield. And then first takeaway of the game by either team comes from a guy who's playing in his very first game, a guy you've been talking about all summer long, Junior Henderson, freshman safety, picks a pass off, and for just a brief moment, it looked like he had a chance to maybe go the distance.
Yeah, I think he probably could have scored, and if he had the the old do-over thing, he might have made a different cut and scored. But Junior's a talented guy.
Yeah.
He was running pretty hot in that game. Didn't do everything right, but played hard, and the guy makes plays.
You get another takeaway at the end of the first half with Fresno State driving. It's 21-7. You get a Richard Griffin III deflection on a ball at the goal line. DJ Arnold picks it off the deflection, and you guys stave them off. It's 21-7 late 3rd quarter, Coach, and though the final score was 34-13, weren't there an awful lot of things to take away positively from this game?
Sure. You look at the 2 middle quarters, and we did not play bad. Some of it didn't look great because we were punting quite a bit, and we turned the ball over a couple times within those quarters, but we were moving the ball. We didn't run the ball quite as consistently as we wanted. A lot of that has to do with, we had some young linemen up front, and they had some big hosses up front on the D line, and then they did a good job. Coach DeRuiter's he's a great defensive mind, and he had his guys ready. But we played well at times. We just were not able to finish drives, and that's the frustrating part.
The game ended on a Dallas Seeley touchdown to Byron Proctor, the first throw for a touchdown from Seeley, the redshirt freshman, the first reception for a touchdown by Byron Proctor. A quick thought about Parker McKenzie and Dallas Seeley as we wrap up.
Well, I thought he played well. He didn't play great. He had the 2 interceptions, and those were 2 bad decisions. In the game as a quarterback, everything needs to go. I mean, you're making split-second decisions on every single play. All it takes is one lapse in judgment, and all of a sudden the other team has the ball. That's what happened a couple times to Parker. And I'm moving forward, that's not going to happen again. It'll be a good bit before those decisions come into play again. Dallas didn't throw the ball as consistently as he did in practice. Of course, he was a little bit wound up. That ball was jumping out of his hand, pretty hot.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's going to get more playing time, and every now and then we're going to give Dallas a drive so he can go in and get some work.
34-13 the final. ASU falls to Fresno State the week off, and then Houston Baptist comes to town on September the 19th, a week from Saturday. We'll preview the rest of the 2015 season coming up in just a bit. But as we go to break, take a look at the rest of the scores from around the Southland Conference. You'll notice McNeese State and LSU postponed because of lightning in Baton Rouge, and that game never was able to be completed. We're back in a moment on the Ken Collums Show, presented by Lawrence Hall.
Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show, brought to you by Lawrence Hall. Soccer played its first game in the new Elmer Gray Stadium, and volleyball continues its tough season on the road. Here's Jonathan Rates and Hannah Knoll with the Sportscast.
Thanks, Shera. The ACU soccer team fell 3-0 to the University of North Texas in its first game in the new Elmer Gray Stadium last Friday. The Wildcats had 7 shots to UNT's 20. Goalkeeper Kelsey Dombrowski was yellow-carded early in the first half, which led to a North Texas penalty kick as its first goal. The Mean Green kept up the pace with a second goal only 7 minutes later. North Texas scored its final goal with only 6 minutes left in the second half. On Sunday, the Wildcats traveled to College Station to face Texas A&M, the number 3 ranked team in the nation. Goalkeeper Sydney Newton had her first start of the season, setting a school record with 14 saves. Newton and the Wildcats were able to limit the Aggies to 1 point through the first half, but lost control in the second when they allowed 1 goal in the 57th minute and 2 penalty kick goals. They finished with a 4-1 loss. The Wildcats look to improve their record when they play TCU in the University of Texas this weekend.
The ACU volleyball team fell in straight sets to both Wichita State and New Mexico State, but managed to win a set against Texas A&M. Senior Sarah Siemens recorded a double-double against both New Mexico State and Texas A&M, while Jenny Lurch led all scorers with 20 kills against Texas A&M. ACU continued its road trip Tuesday when they played head coach Jason Bibler's previous school, UT Arlington. The Wildcats battled through 28 ties and 11 lead changes, but were unable to secure a victory, falling in 3 straight sets. Lurch again led all scorers with 13 kills, followed by freshman Kendall Boss, who had 9 kills and 2 aces. The Wildcats begin the second half of their non-conference schedule when they visit Denton to play Houston, North Texas, and Boise State this weekend. Volleyball coach Jason Bibler told us a little bit about the team's new motto.
I mean, every year we want something that's kind of going to be us and our kind of theme for the year. And you know, this Philippians 3:12, the author is talking about, you know, I'm not where I want to be right now. I haven't achieved the things that I want to achieve yet, but I kind of keep going in that direction. But I press on to do that.
I caught up with one of ACU's football freshmen who's back in Abilene as a Wildcat tight end.
I love the Christian environment here. I have family here. Got a little rough at LSU. Didn't really know anybody there, first of all, but came back to a really great family environment and just love the town.
That's all for this week's JMC Network Sportscast. For Hannah Knoll, I'm Jonathan Rates.
Now joining us on the Ken Collums Show for the first time, Seth Wilson, ACU Sports Media Relations intern, and Colin Weeder, print sports editor for the ACU Optimist. Thanks for being here, guys. First, let's look at last Thursday's game. What's one thing that stands out to you? Colin?
The biggest takeaway for me was by far the secondary. Last year, graduating Justin Stewart and Angel Lopez, and then losing this offseason Keith Barnett to a torn ACL, and losing Terry Osborne to transfer. A lot of people were questioning how we were going to replace all 4 players at once. But, they had a lot of freshmen step up. Junior Henderson picked off a pass, and Cedric Dale had 8 tackles, transfer from Purdue, played real well. So the biggest takeaway for me was by far the secondary.
Okay. Seth?
For me, it was the running game. Last year we saw DeAndre Brown kind of take off when Herschel Sims also played a little bit. And then Thursday night, Fresno State, their defensive line stifled the running game pretty good. So I'm looking for that to improve as we move along this season.
Mm-hmm. And as you say, looking forward to the rest of the season. We have 9 straight conference games ahead of us. How do you think ACU will fare in the Southland Conference this season?
I think ACU will fare very similar to last year. They're going to have a tough schedule this year, especially with picking up last year's conference champion in Southeastern Louisiana. It's going to be a tough road ahead. I do think a 6-6 season or 5-7 season could be kind of in the picture. So it'll be a tough year for them.
I agree with Colin. The home games this year are super tough. You've got McNeese coming in, Sam Houston coming in, and a couple other, Southeast Louisiana, who is co-champions. So a tough home slate in a tough conference. So it'll be interesting.
Talking specific positions now, quarterback, we saw in Thursday's game several guys go in as quarterback. Parker, I think, is still the starting quarterback, but what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on Parker's play was kind of a tale of 2 halves. First half goes 10 of 14, 96 yards, no picks, real smart, efficient ball. Took what the defense kind of gave him in the first half. In the second half, he forced some things, went 8 of 15 for about 72 yards and 2 picks. Both of them were pretty questionable decisions. So Parker's play was kind of a question mark and kind of an enigma because he kind of had 2 halves. And then, seeing Dallas Sealy, finally got our first glimpse of him. And I thought he had some solid plays, some other plays he struggled a little bit, but, we got to see him throw a touchdown. He played pretty smart football for the most part and showed us some of his running ability. So.
Yeah. So down the road, do you think we'll see more of Cody or Dallas in the game?
I do think they'll probably continue using Dallas, for some running situations here and there, just to give the defense something to study for and something to look at. And I'm sure Cody will continue to do some Wildcat things as well.
For me, on the defensive side, some people call the linebackers the quarterbacks of the defense, and I think that's the most important group on this defense this year. You've got Lynn Grady and Travis Tarver, two seniors that have to provide that leadership, and then Sam Denmark in the middle, who came on towards the end of last season. He's a sophomore this year, and they've got to hold it down on that defensive side with the young secondary, like Colin talked about. So they're the most important group to me on that side of the ball.
Thanks, guys. When we come back, Coach Collums will give us a quick rundown of the rest of the football season schedule. Stay with us on the Ken Collums Show.
As we welcome you back to the Ken Collums Show, presented by Lawrence Hall, take a look at the schedule around the Southland Conference. A couple of Big 12 teams on the docket today. You see Stephen F. Austin taking on TCU. And how about Central Arkansas at Oklahoma State? Coach, a game I would imagine you'll be paying particular attention to. Northern Colorado taking on Houston Baptist, a couple of future opponents.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that game plays out. And HBU is actually the next opponent. And, Coach, as we get ready to think about this 2015 season, the remainder of the season, you don't have a game on this Saturday, but you do start conference play a week from Saturday, September 19th, against Houston Baptist. This is a team that is still very young. They've only had football for a couple of years, and Coach Shealy's looking for a signature win. They'll be coming up here looking to make a statement, won't they?
Sure, and Coach Shealy's a great coach. They've got a good staff down there, and they'll come in with some quality skill guys. They had, the very first year they played football, they had quality skill guys. They look the part, and they're piecing it together, and they're more and more competitive every single year.
Coach, the week after that, SFA Stephen F. Austin comes here. Last season, you ended the season with a very good win against them. What do you think they'll be looking for when they come to Abilene?
Well, I'm sure they'll show up in a bad frame of mind because we went down there last year and played. It was an unbelievable game. It was a really fun game to watch. I enjoyed being involved in the game. It was a tight game, and we had nothing to play for that night. We knew that was our last game of the season. They had the playoffs to play for, and we still went down there and beat them. And the game could have gone either way. And at times it probably should have gone both ways, but it was a great win for us.
And they, of course, went on to go to the playoffs in the FCS postseason. Then the next week, you go back home to your alma mater, University of Central Arkansas. You were a player there. You helped them win an NAIA national championship. You were a coach there when they were Division II. You really helped them lay the foundation for going Division I. You haven't coached in a game there since you were on the UCA staff in 2004.
Sure. It's been a while, and, Conway's a great place, but all that, all that's great. It's 3 hours of football when we go up to Conway, and that'll be a great crowd. Our fans will get to experience their stripes and how kind of dizzying effect that is. So, it shouldn't affect our players. We'll go up there and play well.
Yeah, the purple and gray alternate
right.
every 5 yards.
The week after that, you're on the road again. You take on Lamar. Last season, there was a close 24-21 loss for ACU. So what are you guys looking for when you go to Lamar?
Well, we're looking for a win. We hope to be in the same spot that we were in the fourth quarter last year against Lamar. We were just not able to close the game out. They had a couple of really good playmakers, and they took advantage of us in a certain spot, a couple of certain spots, but we'll go down there and hope to get a win.
How about homecoming? You welcome in the preseason conference favorite. They've won it 3 of the last 4 years, Sam Houston State. They're always tough.
Yeah, Sam Houston, they're pretty much the class of the league. They've, they're an established deal. They've been here for the past 5 years. They've been a quality team, and they gave Texas Tech a run for their money last week, and so they should be. They'll be sharp. They've got enough depth where they're going to play well probably every single week.
After that, Incarnate Word, you haven't played them since 2013 when John David Baker was the quarterback, I believe. What do you expect going into that game?
Well, it's they were in the Lone Star with us, so they're familiar with us. We're familiar with them, and it's our shortest trip to San Antonio. So it's always a good time going down there. San Antonio's a great place, but like we said, it's 3 hours of football, and And our guys, that's right in the middle of the schedule. We should be in a groove by then.
You come back home to Shotwell Stadium Halloween to take on McNeese State, and they dress up like a pretty good football team.
Yeah, they
don't
are spooky sometimes. So they've got some really good players.
Yeah.
They're coached very well, and every single year those guys are at the top of the league. We tied for them last year, within the Southland Conference, but they're a good team.
Yeah.
And then Northwestern State, last year we had a tough game against them. So what are your plans?
Well, we had a very tough game last year. We didn't play that clean. We turned the ball over multiple times, and so we're going to go to Natchitoches and try to play clean football. And they do a good job there. They've got a good setup. But man, we'll take another trip to Louisiana and play well.
You got half the battle. You got the name of the town pronounced right. Natchitoches.
Yeah, that's right.
You come home for your home finale against the team that tied for the conference title last year, Southeastern Louisiana. They're mighty tough.
We've never played them. We don't know kind of what we're getting when you play a new team, but we do know this: they're going to be fast and big, and they're going to have a quality team. So it'll be good for our home fans to see that.
And as Grant mentioned, you closed the season with Northern Colorado in Colorado late November. What are you expecting with that one?
Well, I expect it to be very cold.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to go up there and beat the cold and beat Northern Colorado.
First time in more than 20 years we will have played UNC up there in Greeley. Coach, enjoy the week off. These days are precious, aren't they? You don't get a whole lot of time off. Enjoy that this Saturday. And we'll get right back at it with another edition of the Ken Collums Show presented by Lawrence Hall next week, and we will preview that game against Houston Baptist. For Shera and for Coach Collums, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Ken Collums Show presented by Lawrence Hall.